Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the longest running Bigfoot podcast on Blog Talk Radio, the original Squatchdetective Radio, featuring your hosts, Steve Coles and Chris Bennett. 3 decades of Bigfoot research, 2 decades of Bigfoot radio. Here we go.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
And then this thing walks across the road, takes a turn towards us, and then leaps over a guardrail.
All I can remember is flipping the light on, and I see this creature, and I knew in my heart, I knew in my mind, and the whole night, this isn't a man.
And the whole time, the whole thing was shadowing us, right behind us, right outside of us. You could kind of see the thing moving through the woods.
There are thousands of perfect people whose word would be good on any other subject who describe getting a good look at an enormous hair-covered upright animal, and that is a fact.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatchdetective Radio for today's date, April 29th, 2018. I am your host, your guide, the Squatchdetective Steve Coles, along with my co-host, who probably has a lot better weather than I do, Mr. Chris Bennett. How are you, Chris?
Hey, Steve, man, I'm doing great in Kentucky. Hope everything's going fine for you in New York. And today, I just noticed the date a while ago. It's Leap Day. So, you know, if you were born on the 29th, I guess you finally get a birthday.
Wait a minute. I thought leap year was on February 29th.
No, I'm pretty sure it's April, isn't it?
No, April's always has 30 days in it.
Oh, man, really? Are you sure?
Positive.
Well, okay. Maybe we don't get books. But maybe we don't get books in Kentucky like you guys do in New York. Sorry about that.
Well,
yeah, I thought this was leap year because it's the 29th. I looked at that. I was like, what? Is this like leap year? No, man. I thought April had like 28 days in it or something.
No, that's February, but in Kentucky they don't have February.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we just skip straight to March. Duh. Okay. Well, anyway,
there's another.
What's your weather been like up there, man? What's your weather been like up there in New York?
Feels like London. It's rainy in the 40s today. Yeah.
It's been great here, Steve. I mean, we've had like nice 70-degree days, and the nighttime's still a little cool. You know, maybe in the 40s, but man, it's been great.
Well, rub it in, why don't you?
Yeah. And I see we're still dealing with the Blog Talk delay on the connections here, so it's kind of like we'll be bumping heads a lot again tonight, probably. But I hope everybody will bear with us anyway while we try to sort through it.
Yeah, well, you know how that goes, Chris.
Oh yeah.
But I got to say, I got a couple of, I got a really big announcement. Just a quick program note. As a reminder to folks, next week we're going to have on Seth Breedlove from Small Town Monsters. He's going to talk about his documentaries and some of the new projects he's got coming up. And actually, the International Cryptozoological Museum actually named him Cryptozoologist of the Year for all his exposing of these different local stories like the Minerva Monster and the Flatwoods Monster, the Beast of Whitehall, which I'm very familiar with. But that is just one of the announcements tonight. The big announcement is that earlier this week, or last week per se, because this is the beginning of the week, I did announce that I have started a crowdfunding project for a documentary. It's going to be called Bigfoot Cold Case. It's going to be on the first book that was ever written on a Bigfoot habituation. It was published in 1975 under a pseudonym. So there was a lot of mystery for many years as to who the actual writer was. And as you know, that I've been releasing this very slowly. Yes, people have been asking me, so I will drop this nugget tonight. that yes, it is about the book The Creature, written by Jan Clement. And yes, we do have, I would say with 98% certainty, we do know who Jan Clement is. It's not going to be people, it's not going to be somebody people, especially the Pennsylvanians, it's going to be a surprise. Let's just say this. I've heard some of the stories of who people, some of the longtime researchers may have thought he was, but thanks to my little PI work, we have discovered otherwise, I believe. So, of course, we all know that this either could be science fiction or it could be at the end of the road is the holy grail of all things Bigfoot, and that's the remains of the Sasquatch. And we do believe we have the locations of those nailed down too. So that's really awesome. Very excited about getting that. And if people want to visit the crowdfunding site, just go to Indiegogo.com, I-N-D-I-E, gogo.com, and just type in the search Bigfoot Cold Case Documentary, and it should pop it up. Or you can put in my name, Steve Coles, and that should pop up too. And we hope to have our principal photography starting by mid-July. So we have a real, we're storyboarding it next month, meeting with some folks, getting some logistics handled, which some of it's already been handled. And we're going to set up an interview schedule and some field time. And by September, we'll be in post-production. And by spring of next year, we should be launching it, and we are going to premiere the film at the 2019 Bigfoot Camping Adventure in Pennsylvania, very close to where this all had allegedly occurred. So it's going to be a fun time. So excited about that.
Wow. That's cool. I hope it turns out to be, instead of science fiction, science fact. I'm going to start polishing up a shovel.
Yep, I sure. Well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring along some people to dig for me because, I'm getting kind of old, Chris. I don't know if I want to be digging. I've had with this snow this year, I've had enough shovel work. But anyway,
what was it the last time we were at the Ohio Bigfoot conference? Most of the other guys was out partying, drinking in the bars, and having good times, and me and Steve was sitting around the room talking about our blood pressure medicine.
Yes, that is so true. Yeah. Well, the night before, I was out actually in the park, Salt Fork State Park, doing a little research, and I was out there with Jody Cook and Ken Gerhardt, actually. So that was a lot of fun. Okay, well, let's get on to the show. Tonight's guests, I'm very excited. We have the writer-director of the movie Sightings, Dallas Morgan, with us, and we also have on the Boo Arnold, who portrayed Tom Mayfield in the movie Sightings, the lead role, and Tom has a very long credited history with film, so I'm really excited to have both of these gentlemen on. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hey.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And so, we'll get right into it. We'll start with Dallas, because that's where the film starts, is with Dallas. So we'll start with Dallas real quick. So Dallas, first of all, what made you decide to do a movie about Bigfoot? Or, I don't want to give anything too much away about the whole movie, but I'll let you talk a little bit about the movie first, and what made you drop into that particular genre.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that went into it specifically. I've always been a fan of the science fiction genre, exploring stories that deal with big ideas, out-of-this-world concepts, and the idea of Sasquatch and the Bigfoot creature is something that, growing up in North Carolina, has always been on my radar. Lots of people, where I grew up in the middle of North Carolina, where there's a lot of woods, a lot of camping happens, people talked about encounters or things they have seen in the forests. And so I'd always kind of been aware of that concept and mythology. And so when I set out to go make my first feature film, I thought a lot about different ideas I could explore and what stories I could tell. And a buddy of mine sent me a news clip of a guy in North Carolina who had claimed to see a Sasquatch. And this guy lived out in the backwoods of North Carolina, had called the local authorities to come out and inform them of what he had seen. And I was really captivated by this particular character. He was just a unique individual, and I was interested in not only who he was, but who these other people were that were claiming to have had these experiences and seen these things. So that began my research into the Sasquatch story and what evidence is out there for his existence or the existence of this species. And so that began my brain churning, and so that really got me excited about exploring this in a movie format. And then as I was doing some of that research, I came across several different theories about the origin of Bigfoot, where he is from, why he's so elusive perhaps. And so one of those particular ideas was something I had never heard before. And, without giving too much of the movie away, approach of the origin of Bigfoot and where he comes from really was unique to me, something I hadn't heard before. And so that got me even more excited about doing this as a movie because I felt like it was a unique enough concept that warranted a feature film. And, there's obviously been a lot of movies about Bigfoot, so doing something that felt original was pretty important to me. And so then from there, it was about really figuring out who these characters are, what the transformations they go through as a result of these experiences. And that's what led me to write the character of Tom, which Boo played, of this guy who is a skeptic of these ideas, who just doesn't believe these things occur, and he's forced to reconsider those preconceived ideas because of some extraordinary things that happened to his family out on their property in Texas.
That's right, and I got to say the transformation was really cool. I thought that was spot on. And Boo, you did an awesome job. I mean, I enjoyed it. You were the film to me. You were the guy. I mean, I just liked the way it came off. How you were, this is crazy. And so, Boo, when you were originally approached about this, I mean, are you guys believers or? It's okay to say no, too. Just because you're on a podcast doesn't mean you have to say yes. But
I know my answer, which I'll give you in a second, but I've actually never heard what Boo has to say, so I'm curious.
I would say I'm kind of agnostic on this sort of thing. I love the mystery, and I have 4 children, and we live in a wooded area, and we have a golf cart, and I take them down this haunted road trail, and I talk about werewolves, and that's sort of magical and scary at the same time. So I like the idea of it, and I like the potential for it, but I've never seen anything or had that experience. So I wouldn't say that I believe.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's fine. Seeing is believing sometimes, and there's a lot of people that don't like that. How about you, Dallas?
Yeah, I've personally never had an experience or an encounter with an actual Bigfoot. That being said, I've read enough articles and books and things and seen enough videos and heard enough eyewitness accounts that I can't convincingly believe that all of these individuals are lying. So whether it's a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or some other cryptid type creature that people have seen, they're definitely experiencing and seeing something. And I haven't personally had that experience, so I can't necessarily label it. But I'm convinced that people aren't. Not everyone is lying that has told these stories.
Now, so let me ask this question. The particular theory that you had followed in the movie, is that something you believe, or is that just something that you just wanted to project that as as a potential.
Yeah, I definitely think that in the context of the movie, it was fun to explore in the film context of a make-believe story. If it was absolutely proven 100% that the species of Bigfoot exists, I would venture to say that it is a variation of maybe the ape family, or a real world creature, an animal type beast, not something necessarily supernatural or otherworldly.
Yep. So you're right in league with Chris and myself, actually. So I got to say, when Boo, the first time you heard about this project, and I know you're an actor by trade, so sometimes it's, okay, this is another job, and this is the way I approach it. Did that challenge your thoughts on it at all, or did it open you up a little bit more, or was it something you had never thought about, and now it's like, I never really thought of this?
Not anything that I'd really given much thought to. I think what drew me to the story, obviously, was that it's character-driven, and I like the idea of a family being restored and a father, trying to deal with his past family history and attempting to reconcile with people. But I think it's kind of interesting that it is character-driven, but the foil through which all this occurs is this fear and this haunting of, from this creature and the disappearances. So, it was all interesting to me. I don't know that I necessarily started to think about these phenomena any more or less, but I just thought it was interesting that that's woven in with this character-driven story.
Yep. And I thought that was probably one of the more interesting takes on it, too. It actually seemed, for a lot of the film, that it was more about the characters than it was about the minutia of a Sasquatch running around. And I thought that was really cool. Was that kind of your intent?
I'm glad you appreciate that. It's interesting. We've had very polarizing feedback from people who have seen the movie about that. Some want it to just be a straight-up creature feature horror movie. They want to see this beast clawing people and eating people and all that kind of stuff that you may find in your typical slasher B film. And that's not the way we wanted to approach it. We really wanted it to be something that a more general audience could relate to, because they see these characters that they can empathize with, and then it happens to be set against the backdrop of this family on a ranch being terrorized by this creature in their woods, so that it almost normalizes these wild ideas that are taking place. Because I knew that people would need something to latch onto that they can relate to in their everyday life, so that those who haven't necessarily gone out and hunted for Bigfoot like you guys have and have had those personal experiences, they can still relate to this story and relate to this movie, because they can relate to the characters who are going through it. And then hopefully, maybe that sparks some conversation beyond that because of the context of what's happening to the characters.
And I could tell the beginning, the way the movie started and some of the things that were going on, you could tell you had researched a lot of this. So that's really appreciative of that.
We wanted it to be as authentic as possible, because we knew we wanted the movie to appeal, like I said, to a wide audience, and some of that audience would include people who follow this stuff and believe this stuff. So we wanted it to be respectful of that audience as well.
Yeah, and I know there are polarizing things all over the place. As far as what I would say is the cryptid community or the Bigfoot community, I've been around long enough to separate some of the items along the way, and like today I got into a conversation with somebody that on Facebook actually, and actually this may actually turn out to be a very interesting blog this week. Because just so folks know, too, I'm blogging usually midweek. You'll expect to see a blog come out. But, you know, it was a little bit of a polarization of the show Finding Bigfoot because it's coming to an end, the end of the month with its 100th episode.
Okay.
And, you know, there is a big disconnect in how, you know, and I know it's different for everything, and I tried to kind of explain to people that a TV show is a lot different than a documentary, as is a movie is a separate animal than the other two. You know, they each have their own dynamics, they each have their own goals, and they each have their own. But if you can step back and appreciate the art of it, I think you'll get a richer experience out of, you know, watching those particular items. And I know
I would agree.
Because they couldn't understand, because I remember saying, well, they always did all these build-ups before the commercial, and they come back. Well, that's how you retain the audience, and that's television.
Right.
You know, documentaries kind of straight and narrow. You're telling a particular story as it develops. And a movie is completely a different animal. A movie is something fiction. You're telling a story, and the story may have ups and downs. And, you know, I know there was a lot of criticism of The Last Jedi. I thought it was a wonderful film, but just because the film and perhaps this was one of the things I had to get over, was just because the film doesn't necessarily end the particular way you may envelop it. You know, it's not your story. It's ultimately the writer and director's story. And that's how I feel. I mean, if people are complaining because of the storyline, they've got, you know, very little to stand on as far as I'm concerned. It's not their story. It's not my story. It's the story.
Right.
Chris, you got anything, Chris?
Well, yeah, I agree exactly. To me, I think Hollywood, the creative thinking is gone. Seem like they do like remakes of everything anymore. And like, you know, with these different types of Bigfoot movies, and you got documentaries and movies, and of course I love to watch the good Bigfoot monster movie every now and again, you know, but it's totally unrealistic. But you know, I'm just glad to see something come out now that is actually sort of a family character-driven piece that does cover you know, educational information about the creatures too.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, talking about the polarization of the cryptid community, some of it I wasn't even aware of until after the movie released, and I started to encounter some of that during our marketing and PR efforts, because I've reached out to some other prominent figures in this community who have refused to promote it or refused to endorse it because it portrays Bigfoot as a violent creature, and they don't believe that that's the case. And so they didn't want to support it because they thought that would perpetuate a negative or a false view of the creature. And so, which, you know, for me, it again goes back to the idea of, we're making a movie, it has to have some level of conflict involved, and typically in a creature movie, the conflict comes from the creature being violent.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. I don't know. It just seems like to me that with the Hollywood stories are just, you know, remakes. There's nothing inventive and original anymore. And, you know, like I was saying, you know, I do like the monster movies and stuff, but it seems like they try to do something so different, and they just want to be shocking, regardless whether it's good or not. You know.
I don't know that I'd ever heard the theory put forth that Dallas used in Sightings, that Bigfoot was actually related to the paranormal or extraterrestrial world. I thought that was really creative. When I kind of first heard of it, I thought, how is he going to make this play, make the storyline work out? And of course, I read the script, and then we shot the film and finished it. But I thought it flowed really well, and it made sense. I thought it was terrific and very unique and creative. I had never heard that take on Bigfoot before.
Well, we've heard it all. Believe it or not, we've heard it all. Believe it or not, there's folks that believe Bigfoots come through portals and wormholes and can cloak and do all kinds of weird.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
So,
save
yeah,
we'll save all that for sightings too.
Yeah, I love to talk to people about their sightings and stuff, and a lot of time, you meet people that has, had a really good encounter, and when they're discussing their sighting, you can tell these people are believable. They actually, you can tell by their expressions and their emotions while they're telling you they've seen something. It may not be a Bigfoot, we don't know, but because we weren't there. But they've seen something, and they actually believe that what they saw was, a Sasquatch. And then you get the people that tell you their story, and it was Bigfoot was stepping off of the UFO. Now, those are the kind of people, I walk a wide circle around them. Of course, I don't know that they're lying, but I can't stretch my imagination that much to accept that.
Sure.
Unless you watch the movie Sightings, then you might start to believe that could happen.
That's right.
I've often used the theory. There are some researchers that do put forth that theory, and that's because of exactly that there's been a flap of Sasquatch sightings, a flap of UFO sightings. And I always use this, and I think you'll get a chuckle out of this, as I always use, if I do recall that there was a lot of sightings with cattle in the 70s in UFOs. Remember the cattle mutilations and all that? Everybody's like, well, just think about it. Maybe the cattle are aliens, and we've been drinking their milk all this time.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is groupthink. So you start seeing some of these things, and it's like, I think I can pick this one, and it's a lot. It's it is what it is, and there's a lot of people in Dallas. You probably can attest to this, especially in the cryptid community. There are people that are really serious. And I'm serious some of the time, but I kind of always stand back and try to see the bigger picture of things. And I see a lot of things as harmless that people think is the damnation of the world. And, when you say that, some of the cryptid community, they didn't want to promote a movie that, that depicts the creature as a violent thing. And, okay, so what about Jaws? What about, Cujo, but they're real good at, depicting us as violent people, or us as a violent animal as well. I mean, how many war movies have there been? So, to me, it's...
Well, and speaking of Jaws, that was actually a big inspiration for this movie. I sent that as when we were doing pre-production, I sent to our crew several films that I felt like were good inspirations for all of us to watch, and Jaws was one of those. And me and our director of photography looked at some of the shot structure in the movie Jaws for ideas on how to compose certain shots and blocking with actors and everything.
Well, I thought it was really well done because you didn't have that gore factor. You could tell this wasn't going to be a slasher movie. This was, and us in the cryptid community, we have seen that with Sasquatch Mountain and the movie Sasquatch, and I think out of all the slasher Bigfoot movies, I think Lance Henriksen was in probably about 85% of them. Which hey, isn't that the droid from Alien?
Well, that's the thing too, Steve. That brings my curiosity about Lance Henriksen. Why is he volunteering to be in so many of these projects that are related to Bigfoot? Is there something in his background that may suggest that he might have a curiosity about these creatures, or may have had an encounter of his own?
That, or it's certainly a less interesting approach, but most likely what's occurring there is you've got a group of producers going out to make a Bigfoot movie, so they're conducting research on all the other Bigfoot movies that are out there, and they see this guy, and they're like, he's an actor that's done a lot of work, let's go after him, and then it just ends up being that more of a business approach than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's probably, he's done the Bigfoot role. We know what kind of performance we're going to get out of him in this particular role. It's kind of like, Tommy Lee Jones in every movie. You just get the same character every single movie.
Yeah, well, and that's why, when you're making a movie and you set out to do the casting, it's commonly said that that's such an important part of the movie, because that is the faces that you see. And so often your general moviegoer associates the face of the actors as it being their movie. You go see a new Bourne movie and it's the new Matt Damon movie because he's the face on the poster and all that kind of stuff. So the casting process is extremely important, and we were very blessed to have such an amazing cast, especially with the movie being such an ensemble piece. Boo obviously killed it with his role, and then all the other actors as well just really came together in a interesting way, and everyone just nailed it.
And for those that don't know, Boo has been on quite a number of programs. I mean, I was just going down some of the stuff, and I just cherry-picked some of the shows he's been on. 24, Criminal Minds, True Blood, CSI New York, CSI Miami, Nip Tuck, Grey's Anatomy, Hawaii Five-0, Scandal, The Mentalist, and one of my favorite shows, Justified. So, I love Justified. I thought that was
it's a great show. Great show, yeah.
I think Timothy Olyphant killed that role. I mean,
great. Kind of a sidetrack, but great story about Timothy Olyphant. I worked one night with him for about 6 hours, and I have to tell you, he is the most gracious guy in the world. He and I talked, and he had some suggestions on the scene that we did together. So anyway, you're smart to like the show in him, because he's as nice off the screen as he is good on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, I've met a few folks from the paranormal side of things that have been in some programs, and like one of the folks I bump into every year is Kane Hodder at one particular convention, and Kane Hodder was the person who's played Jason in the Friday the 13th movies the most. And, he is a character and a half. And of course, this is kind of a fun show, so we're going to get a little sidetracked tonight, because this is not every show has to be strictly Bigfoot. But yeah, we kind of got sidetracked, and I was trying to take a picture with somebody. So my fiance is standing there with the camera, and he comes over, he's walking by, and he just purposely bumps her when she's trying to take the picture. It was hysterical.
Oh, we got a bad connection, Steve? What is that? Oh.
Oh, it ended. Okay.
Got it?
Yeah, I think our soundboard's clear now. But yeah, just some of... So, Boo, what out of all the roles you've played, and aside from playing Tom Mayfield, what was your favorite television role? Which one did you enjoy the most?
Oh, I like any role that's heavily dramatic, but I played this guy on Scandal that was having an adulterous affair with a prostitute and was found out, and then went after the prostitute and attempted to kill her. And I know that sounds pretty dark and heavy, but it's fun to get to act a little crazy like that. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I think what else? Anything where I'm kind of playing a threatening cop is fun for me. Abusing power is always nice. Of course, these are things you get to do in a fantasy world and not in real life, because mostly I'm abused by my wife and 4 kids, so maybe it's some sort of subconscious release. I don't know. But that'd be those are a few things that I've enjoyed.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I kind of, I've talked to a few professional wrestlers in my day, and some of them love just portraying the bad guy, because it gets out, it gets the crowd angry, and you like to generate. That's all part of the acting genre, is to evoke that guttural reaction to, oh, this guy's a real scoundrel, and it gets people.
Right.
Of course, I feel sorry for the guy who played Negan. I feel sorry for the guy who played Negan on The Walking Dead. As people, the first couple episodes, they really did not like him at all. But now they've come to realize that Jeffrey Dean Morgan is actually a nice guy, and he actually owns a candy store about 40 miles from my house. Believe it or not. So, but Dallas, I gotta ask you this too. Is do you have any future projects coming up for stuff? I always like to talk about that too.
Yeah, of course. So I am in the process of writing my next project right now. I've completed an outline, and I've begun actually writing the script. And so that's something that's in line for me to direct next. Once I finish writing it, I'll go about the process of producing and directing it. And then in addition to that, I've got a few projects that I'm looking to produce as well. So my wife and I, my wife plays Hannah, the daughter in the family in Sightings. So she and I produced this movie together, and we have our own production company, and so we're looking to produce additional films beyond this. And so our strategy moving forward is to kind of be producing, eventually be producing, say, 2 or 3 projects a year, and then every 2 to 3 years, I will write and direct one of those projects. So, yeah, so to answer your question, I've got a few things right now that are in development for me to produce, and then one in particular that I am writing for me to direct.
Excellent.
Yeah, and the project that I'm writing, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm excited about where it's headed. It's still in the sci-fi genre. It's more of a sci-fi adventure film, less and not so much a creature film, but still deals with some science fiction ideas and explores some unique concepts of time travel and that kind of thing.
And as a Squatcher, I would say I want to time travel back to October 20th, 1967. And Chris, you know why, right?
Yeah, you want to go riding with Rogers.
You got it. I'd love to be the bump on the log going, hey, what the heck was that? That is awesome. So I want to get back to, have you gotten much response aside from getting on the shows as far as the cryptid community? Has anybody given you any kind of feedback whatsoever? Because sometimes I know it's tough to get that kind of feedback, but I'm sure there's somebody that fired off an email somewhere that was either liking it or angry about it or...
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, there's 2 categories of feedback that we've got, or I guess there's really 3 categories. You've got your professional critics, people that have movie blogs and movie review shows that have done reviews on the film, and then you've got your general public reviews, people that have watched the movie on iTunes or have watched it on Amazon and have left reviews on there or have left user-generated reviews on IMDb. And then you've got your third category, which would be people, like you had mentioned, in the cryptid community who have given us feedback or have written us emails. And honestly, all of those, in all 3 categories, there's been feedback all over the place. You'll have one person who talks about how terrible the writing is, and then the next review will say how wonderful the writing was, and that's across all the different aspects of the movie. So you can never really rely too heavily on one individual's feedback or one person's note or comment. You really kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, but also take it collectively. Like if you start to see the same comment over and over again, well, then maybe there's some validity to that. But we've really just seen a wide range of responses. Some people have just absolutely loved it, and it's their new favorite movie, and other people said they've completely wasted their time. So, I try not to let any of that affect me too heavily. My hope with the movie has always been that as many people as possible would see it, and those who do see it would have a great time watching it. Obviously, filmmaking for me is an artistic endeavor, and I long to move people's emotions with the movies we make, but I also really just want people to have a great time. I want people to finish watching the movie and feel like they had fun, they enjoyed themselves, they were told an interesting story, and they were really affected on different emotional levels. And so all of the feedback we've gotten has been across the board with that. But for the most part, specifically in the professional blogging community, movie review sites, those places, we've really gotten some great feedback. And then also people in the Sasquatch community and the cryptid community, I feel like really are attracted to the story and have really enjoyed the movie for a lot of the reasons you guys mentioned. I mean, so many of them have seen the slasher Bigfoot movie. They have seen and there's so many found footage Bigfoot movies that they've seen. And so the fact that we told a very traditional story in the sense of it is a narrative, and it explores a unique aspect of the Bigfoot mythology, they've really gravitated towards that and have really appreciated that, and as a result had a great time watching the movie, which is a mission accomplished for us.
Yeah. Well, Dallas, as long as you keep making movies like this, man, I'll stand in line to watch them. But now, if you go like on the outside edge, like some of those other people, and if you start making the Bigfoot movie to where Bigfoot is falling in love with Boo out in the woods, now I probably won't stand in line to see that one.
I don't know if I would convince Boo to be in that one.
Good Lord, Chris! I had a mouthful of coffee and almost went all over my keyboard.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't want to downgrade anybody else's project, but I saw a movie several years ago, and it was, I don't know if I should even mention the title, but it was about this female hiker, and this girl was out in the woods, and Bigfoot was kind of following her around, and they had this sort of, thing going, and
Wow.
I just, for the life of me, I just cannot get interested in that. I made more trips getting a drink and stuff just to get out of the room to avoid watching it. But,
I won't mention the title, but I know exactly what movie you're talking about. I came across it while I was researching. Yeah.
Chris, we talk about feedback, and people say that I use the soundboard far too much, so that's why you haven't been hearing me use the soundboard very much. But for that movie,
weird. Exactly. Perfect. Yeah.
Yes, Eric is still on the air. He's been gone 10 years, but he's still on the air. One of the zaniest episodes we ever had actually was in this show's very first year. It was 2006, I want to say it was November, that I interviewed a gentleman, and I don't know if you've come across this man's research in your travels, Dallas, but his name was John Eric Beckchard. And he had some really wild thoughts on Bigfoot, talking to people, just all kinds of... He was all over the board with it. They were aliens. They were coming in through portholes. They talked to you. They had psychic abilities. They... and I remember there was one point in the show where he said, there was a time when there was actually a Bigfoot reported seen wearing human blue jeans on the side of the road and in a tattered shirt. And I said, Eric, and I was like, Eric, that's not a Bigfoot, that's a hippie.
Exactly. We've all seen that guy,
So. But Chris, you got
I haven't heard of him. But you mentioned Bigfoot talking, and that reminds me of one of the pieces of audio recordings I'd come across during researching that you guys have probably heard this or seen this, of supposed recording of a Sasquatch in the woods that sounds like a man speaking like some sort of Asian language in the woods. Oh. Have you guys heard that?
Wait, was that? Did that happen to be out of Canada?
I don't recall where it was from. I believe I came across the recording on the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization website in part of their media files. And anyway, I came across that recording. It's quite disturbing. I mean, it's really a creepy sound. And it's one of the pieces of audio. So when I was working with our sound designer to create the creature sounds for the movie, and it was one of the pieces that I sent him just for inspiration or to see if he could pull something out of there to apply to what we created in the movie to give this creature a voice.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Ron Moorhead's Sierra sound.
Oh, yeah. The samurai chatter. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, absolutely. Very interesting thing about. I'm sorry, somebody's saying something. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna mention, pieces like that as well as the Patterson Gremlin footage. There's a lot of things out there that were useful to us to produce the movie. We looked at the Patterson Gremlin footage quite a bit, or I did, and used the movement of the creature in that footage to motivate the movement of our actors playing the creature in our movie. One of the scenes in the movie, you see the creature move past a window, and the first take of it, the guy that was in the suit actually was our editor. He edited the movie with me, but he had the suit on during the scene, and he went across the window, and he was almost he tiptoed across the window as if he was sneaking around the house. And it looked like the way he was holding his hands, the way he was tiptoeing, he looked like the Grinch was poking around outside the house. And so thankfully we had I used the movement of the Patterson Gremlin footage to show him, you got to get the arm swing, you got to get those big strides and stomping across to try and show him how to do it right.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the coolest things in the movie when you heard the boom, 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 and you see the shadow go by the window. That was pretty cool, and that's actually very reminiscent of a few cases that I've heard in my day. That's actually happened, and I'm sure you've run across cases like that too in your research. We actually had one in Vermont in the late '60s. On a piece of farm that's now a part of the preserved land. I don't know if it's private or public, but it's open to the public. It's not. I don't believe it's owned by the state, but it's open to the public, like a private foundation owns it. And that's where the farmhouse was. And it was I think, Chris, it was 2013 when I was out there. And I ended up getting a FLIR image of something that was walking along the shoreline at 9:30, 9:40 at night, completely pitch black. Here's this upright thing walking, not making a sound, not using lights, and so it makes you wonder sometimes. But that actually reminded me of that particular story the minute I saw it, and that's how I knew it was somebody who had done their research on stuff like this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
Well, I got a question for Dallas, and I got the same one for Boo, too. Dallas, if you don't mind, I don't really mean to put you on the spot or anything, but I would like to know, what are some of the challenges when you're shooting on these locations? Is it the area to get to, or what's some of the challenges you had while you were making the movie?
Well, in this movie in particular, there were quite a few. One actually was being in the location we were trying to get out to this ranch. We filmed on a privately owned ranch outside of a small town called Thorndale. Thorndale, Texas is a real city that we filmed in, but it's probably an hour outside of Austin, so about an hour northeast of Austin, Texas. And so getting the entire crew out there, I mean, it's out on a dirt road. You have to go for a mile or two out on this dirt road to get out there. And, our crew sacrificed quite a bit to be there because everyone pretty much bunked up on the property. People were sharing RV space. People were sharing bunk beds and beds together out there. So we all kind of roughed it for a few weeks trying to film. So that in of itself was challenging, just being in close quarters with people, working long hours out in the sun, out in the middle of nowhere. And then of course, all the things that come along with that. You've got bugs and mosquitoes. And one day, half the crew got attacked by chigger bugs. And so everyone had like chigger breakouts going on. And so, it was pretty rough. And then I'd say about 5 days into the first week of shooting, it started to rain. And it continued to rain off and on pretty much every day for the rest of the shoot. And we found out after we filmed in May of 2015, we found out after we finished filming that the month of May that year in Texas, Texas saw the highest amount of precipitation it had ever seen in the history of Texas that month that we were trying to make a movie. And so it was a challenge. And we, the cast and the crew, everyone was very flexible because we were trying to dodge the rain. We were changing our schedule on a daily basis. So we would have something planned. We'd show up to set, and it'd be pouring down rain, so we'd have to completely change everything. And so everyone had to kind of be on their toes and be willing to just switch things around like that. And the cast had to know the lines of the whole movie, basically, so they could do the scenes we were switching to. And it posed a lot of challenges. But when you watch the movie, we ended up shooting it completely dry. I mean, you wouldn't have a clue from watching the movie that we dealt with the rain on there. But if you watch, on the DVD, we've got a making of documentary of 3 weeks on site for production. We filmed production diaries while we were filming. So when you go and watch that, you'll see how much we dealt with the rain. I mean, there's a clip of rain every few seconds. So it was definitely a big challenge.
All right. Boo, what about for you, man? I know it's like being an actor, you've got the face, and, there's always a chance. Well, in public locations, you're going to be recognized, I'm sure. But what were some of the challenges of you being like when you were making the film? Was it the same thing?
The rain was unbelievable. I mean, it literally would rain 3 or 4 hours a day, just downpour, and we were shuffling schedules trying to get scenes in. So, I mean, it wasn't as hard for me. Dallas had to deal with the pressure of getting everything completed, and we would shoot into the late evening sometimes, just trying to finish up. So that was probably the most challenging thing. And for an actor, being on set is really a lot of fun. Is the acting. I enjoy the acting itself, and then when you're not acting, you get to sit and talk with other actors and really get to know folks. I always tell people, it's like being at summer camp. You get to have a lot of fun and hang out with folks you enjoy. So for me, it's not really that difficult. Dallas is the guy that's in charge. He's got all the responsibility. He's got to watch his hours. He's got to feed everybody. I'm sure he deals with complaints daily. So really the directors and producers are the folks that have to deal with all the difficulties. And they did a great job. I don't know that I would have made it given the amount of rain that we fought day in and day out. It was really unbelievable.
Well, do you think it's important, like, to build a relationship with the other actors while you're working on a film or a project?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, it doesn't make for good acting if you're not connected to other actors. So Dallas's wife, Taylor, played my daughter. And so, when I first met her, I really tried to get to know her. And then, of course, when we arrived on set, I really wanted to connect with her so that you actually develop some empathy and concern for this person. If you're uncomfortable around that person and you're trying to connect emotionally in a scene, it doesn't work. So the more you get to know your fellow actors, I think the better that works out for, making that scene really alive and electric when it needs to be.
Very cool. Well, I guess the nice thing about being out in the middle of nowhere, you don't have to worry about people, hey, man, let me get a selfie. Let me get autographs.
Yeah. There weren't a lot of paparazzi there or people. Though we would go in town, and it was kind of fun shooting in town. People were interested in what we were doing, which was nice.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, I have a question for you. I have a question for Boo, actually.
Oh, cool.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
I'm curious. You and I never got to talk about this at all, Boo, because Boo was in just about every scene of the movie, except for maybe 3 scenes. So he pretty much was there every day and was involved in every scene that we shot, just about. And I'm curious, Boo, did you ever feel any pressure? And if you did, that's fine. I just want to know, did you ever feel any pressure that you were really the face of the movie at all? Like that, if your performance didn't work, the movie wouldn't work? I mean, did that cross your mind ever, or did I impose that on you at all?
No, I'm strange when it comes to being on set. Like, I can get a bit nervous for auditions because you're competing and you need to perform and actually win a role. But once I get on set, I really am comfortable. I just try to be as authentic as I can in each scene and hope that works. And this may sound strange, but I do other things, and my identity is not really in my acting, though. I guess if, I heard people telling me I did a terrible job in this film, I might think, well, maybe I don't need to be acting. Maybe I'm not that good. But no, I didn't feel much pressure. Actually, it was a blast for me. That's why I act. I don't do it as much for the money as I do because I love human connection and love making a scene live and telling stories, and I love to watch movies myself. So when it's good, it's exciting, and if I can be in something that's really good, that's a lot of fun for me.
Very cool.
Cool.
Wow.
Now,
great
now,
question
Dallas,
and great answer. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, Dallas, was this your first film?
Yeah, so this was my first feature-length film as a writer and director. Prior to this, I've been working in the movie business, television business since about 2007. So I've done various things from location management, production management, script supervising, production assistant work. I'd worked in production offices. So, I've definitely been involved in other feature films, but for making one from the ground up and putting the concept together, developing the script, putting the cast and crew together, financing all the way through production and distribution, this was our first endeavor at that.
Very cool. And
hopefully the first of many.
I hope so too. I always tell folks, and yeah, you're going to have your critics, but this is your first time out, so things aren't always going to go perfect. But this was a damn good, good hit with for the first time out. No, not everybody has the Hollywood studio budget behind them, and people have to understand that too. And but what you did wonderfully, and that's as somebody who's been on the other side of the camera, and when I've done my documentaries, I actually the first couple of the ones I've done, I was very involved in the production side of it, and I was very blessed to have this wonderful director kind of take me under his wing by the name of Mike Wafer. And Mike, if you're out there in the UK, hello, because Mike's from London. And he kind of took me under his wing and taught me a lot. And, just seeing, good God, God bless her, you were a production assistant. I know how tough and challenging that job can be because you're juggling 5,000 things. But as you get further up the chain, especially when you're writer, director, and you're probably acting a lot yourself as a production assistant too when you're doing your first film, there's a lot on your plate.
Yeah. It was definitely a stressful experience, but all great memories. And honestly, I appreciate you saying all that, but, and this with your own experience in production, it's definitely not a one-man show by any means. I mean, we could not have pulled this movie off, even though it being, especially, I guess, it being low budget and a smaller film, it means everybody involved is not making much money, is wearing multiple hats, and is really having to work hard. So, our crew, from our grips and our electrics to our on-site production management to our production designer, our sound team, our camera department. I mean, everyone really helped us accomplish this film, and we had a 16-day schedule, and that's a very short schedule considering how many pages we had to shoot. I mean, normally you would shoot about 3 to 4 pages a day, and we were shooting about 7 to 8 pages a day. So everyone on the crew was just hustling between setups to try and get things lit and moved properly. So I can't, say anything without giving credit to everyone else on the team that helped us be able to pull this off. And that continues even in the post-production with our sound designers and our composer, editor, visual effects. I mean, everybody just really sacrificed a lot to help us make this thing possible and help it make, hopefully stretch those dollars as far as we could and get something that we could all be proud of.
Excellent. Now, when it comes to this, and this I'm just asking for, did you crowdfund this, or did you find your own, backers, or because I'm working on basically on my little thing I'm working on a crowdfunding type of thing. I'm just kind of curious to see how that worked out for you.
Yeah. So we kind of did a hybrid. So we did a Kickstarter campaign where we raised about $7,000, and that money that campaign was for the purpose of raising money to be able to put the items in place that we needed from a legal standpoint, as well as a production standpoint, the business plan, the legal documentation, everything we needed in order to be able to approach private investors to then raise the full budget of the movie. So
gotcha.
So we did a Kickstarter campaign with knowing that was not going to be our production budget, but it gave us the resources we needed to be able to then go and raise the full production budget. Because, I mean, there's so many expenses involved with that, even silly things like, when you take on an investor in a particular state, you have to file with the SEC in that state, and that has fees. So we needed all those funds to be able to do all those things so that we could raise the full budget of the movie. So even, I mentioned giving credit to our crew members and everybody, but honestly, we also, I have to give credit to our investors, people who really risked actual dollars and cents to make sure we could actually make the movie. So, that's how we put the financing together. And it was a challenging process. I mean, it took us about 2 years total to raise the full budget.
Wow. And, and I think it's really important to bring that out because there are so many moving parts to wrap your head around, and that's just, people don't, like you brought up a whole nother realm there with the legality of everything and permits, and licensing and stuff like that. And, people go, you need that to make a movie? Well, yes, you do.
Right. Well, so much of it's that waiting game. I mean, I know I approached Boo back when I first finished the script, and so we asked him to be a part of it, and then went away and took 2 years before we raised the financing, and then had to go back to him and be like, okay, now we're ready. And so, that during that time, he was off doing all of his other acting work and his thing, and then, we had to come back to him. So a lot of it has to do with being patient and waiting, too.
Yep. And I'm sure Boo's used to that because I've been used to that too. Because it's a big. They want you to be here. Hey, I got this project, and finally you hear from that project 3 years down the road, 2 years down the road. Sometimes not at all. That's a very commonplace thing.
I always tell my wife, until I have a contract in my hand, I'm not sure that anything's going to work out. And welcome to the entertainment business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I myself have probably shot 3 sizzle reels for different production companies over the years, maybe 4. I've lost count. I think I lost count after the second one for whatever weird reason, but it's either going to pan out or not, and most of the time it doesn't pan out, and that's why a lot of people, it's especially in the crypto world, and I was mentioning earlier about the whole criticism of the Finding Bigfoot program that was going on, that I caught some of it today. You know, people don't understand that I guess one of the comment, you know, is, well, people, you know, I met some Bigfoot researchers, and I think they were only Bigfoot researchers because they want to get on TV. And if you look at the track record of this particular field, there's only been one real program that is based on Bigfoot, and that was Finding Bigfoot. It's the only one of its kind. It was the first. It's new, so you can expect some criticism from the cryptid community, but at the same token, I think that there's got to be some give, because, you know, it's really, and people don't understand Hollywood, is that it's about entertainment value. I mean, you know, Dallas, you know, if you did something that was completely factual and kind of mundane, it's kind of boring, and it's not going to sell film, or it's not going to sell a TV show, or it's not going to, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, as filmmakers and storytellers, you want to move people, whether that means you scare them or make them cry or whatever it may be. And so sometimes you embellish stories so that those emotions are struck. And it also goes back to something you said earlier about not a lot of creativity or originality coming out of Hollywood. And, you know, something I encourage the moviegoers, general audience members, to keep in mind is they have a lot of say-so in what happens in Hollywood, because they're the ones buying the ticket. You know, I just heard that Avengers Infinity War, I think, this weekend hit the highest opening weekend, maybe of all time, maybe just in April or something, but it was some sort of record of highest grossing numbers. And I haven't seen the movie, so for all I know, it may be a great film. But the point is that's part of a franchise, and so many people went to go see that movie. So what that communicates to Hollywood is so many people want this, and so we're going to go make more. And so the more, you know, for those out there who want to see more original stories, original concepts that aren't part of a franchise, aren't part of a sequel trilogy or anything like that, the best way to make that happen is to go see more of those types of films and buy those movies on iTunes and watch those movies on Amazon, because those views communicate to the producers and the distributors that this is what people are paying to see, so let's make more of that.
Yep, exactly. And really, you know, and as we're talking about this, my thoughts are formulating. That's what I love. That's why I like doing these things in a non-formatted type of thing, because, and to me, it seems like, you know, with movies, it's about the story. With television, it's about the ups and downs, and about documentaries, it's about the intrigue. And those are really what, you know, I think really that's what the viewer needs to keep in mind, or at least the intelligent viewer needs to keep in mind, is that, you know, that's what you should be looking for in those three different types of film, genres of film. Because I don't think, because what it all values is it's entertainment, you know, at the top of the pyramid out of all those. But those are the reactions, or those are the emotions they tug upon. You know, I just love, like I say, not only did you have the great family story going on, and the character interaction between a father and daughter, and the crazy brother-in-law, and, you know, and then all these other characters slowly coming in. You have that mix, and with that you have the wonderful story, and that is what people see in that, and that's what I saw in that, and that's why I enjoyed it. You know, you could have put that same story, you could have done it on a rabid dog on the property, and that story still would have been compelling because of that, the overall, you know, the big story in the picture, and that's the relationships. So, kudos to that.
Yeah, I think Hollywood could learn a lot. I think Hollywood could learn a lot from Dallas and Boo. I guarantee it. They make a fine picture. But, you know, I think a lot of the problem, though, with Hollywood, you got some of those actors, those guys, they'll sign up for anything. the latest, the last thing I can think of that was truly horrible, which I don't know, Steve may have liked it, Batman or Superman versus Batman, Batman versus Superman. Ben Affleck signed on for that. I mean, why in the world would he make that movie?
I kind of liked it.
You liked it? Oh my God! I can't believe.
I
thought it was horrible.
I liked it. I liked it.
Oh, I haven't
man.
seen that. I haven't seen that one, so I can't commentate. I haven't seen it.
Well, first of all, just the whole idea of the thing. Why would two good guys be trying to kill each other? Why would Batman want to kill Superman? That doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. But maybe that's me because I'm from Kentucky and we may see things differently here. I think next week's show is going to be May the 6th, and hopefully I won't be wishing everyone Happy Pearl Harbor Day.
I was going to say, hey, wait a minute. Batman versus Superman, the second round, that premieres on February 29th, 2019.
Oh,
yes, I am kidding you.
Okay, good. But that's a lot of the stuff that comes out of Hollywood, man. It's like these dudes have lost their creativity, and they don't have anything new, so they take old stuff from the 70s and 80s or even the 60s and remake it. And don't get me wrong, I think the 1978 version of Superman, that was great. Cool. But now, the sci-fi's got a new show on called Krypton, and you can excuse me a little bit, Steve, because I am a sci-fi nerd. But this is a Krypton show. They changed the Superman's name. Instead of Kal-El, it's Kal-El. And I think they did that in the last Superman movie too. Yeah, I can't stand stuff like that breaks away from the original storyline too much.
Yeah, it's, the movie business is challenging because it's just that. It is business. So you've got these major corporations who are employing a lot of people that have to make a profit, so they have to produce products. And when you're producing that number of, you need to produce a certain amount of products every year in order to pay everyone that's on your payroll. There's bound to be things that maybe aren't top of the line. So, being a part of the movie business, it's difficult to sometimes be critical of all of it because it's part of my world. I get certain decisions that are made from a business standpoint. They're trying to find things that, hey, this has a built-in audience. We can go remake Roseanne, and everybody that used to watch Roseanne's going to watch. So, great, we can tap into that audience that is existing. That's going to help us save marketing dollars, all this kind of stuff. So there's sometimes decisions are based on that more so than the artistic integrity. And, my goal is to be able to find that balance. As a movie company, we want to obviously make good business decisions, good financial decisions, but at the same time make something that has some artistic integrity and be proud of. And sometimes it's hard to know where that line is and where the balance is. And when you've got massive corporations who have a lot of people involved, that line you may miss more than you hit. But as a movie viewer, I certainly can relate to the frustrations of some of the things you see. As a movie producer, I can empathize with where some of those decisions get made and why. And so it's I have to kind of ride both sides of it there.
Well, I do have one comment to that. I can have no empathy for the people who did a remake of Chips or Baywatch. I don't know what they were thinking. What were they thinking?
Yeah, I can't vouch for them there. Sorry. I'm curious. You mentioned. Sorry,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, you mentioned that people listening in can chat in with some questions or comments or call in. I don't know how many listeners you got at the moment that are live, but if there are any, I'd be happy to take some. Yeah,
we have about 15 minutes left of the program, and we all got talking and on stuff. So the call-in line is area code 646-668-2982. Anybody wants to call in, throw us a call. We're here, 646-668-2982. We're on with Dallas Morgan and Boo Arnold, who played Tom Mayfield in the movie Sightings. And so, yeah, I'll tell you, it's really fun to do a show not 100% based on Bigfoot completely, and it's been a lot of fun so far. And I don't know, you guys have any questions for us as Bigfoot researchers? Let's kind of turn the table a little bit.
Okay. Let me think on that. That's good.
we
I have something for you.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Boo. You go first.
I'm kind of new to this stuff. I just wouldn't mind an update on where these communities are in their search for these sorts of experiences or creatures that are out there. Is there a lot of momentum? I see some things on cable television, but have there been any breakthroughs as of late, or any photography or video that people have, or anything been close to being confirmed?
Well, it's funny you asked that question. A lot of times, it's so hard to confirm anything on a photo or even an audio or even a track, because there's so many. The unfortunate thing about this particular field is that there's a lot of chicanery that goes on. There's people that hoax tracks, and we're pretty good at identifying those because there's certain biological measurements we take, and there's little tricks that we learn that, hey, this isn't a biological foot. Photos, there's so much Photoshop ambiguity, and as I've explained in the past, that with all this digital photography, you would think we would have a clear picture. The problem is a lot of our digital instruments, like a camera or even a camcorder, will generally start to focus on the closest thing to it. So if you're shooting something in the woods, that's why they get blurry. And I knew this as an investigator, because if I was doing a particular surveillance and it was raining, every time those windshield wipers got in front of that lens or a raindrop got on the windshield, it would blur the camera up. So unless you're using a manual focus, but then you're talking about you got to see the item, you see the creature, you got to go through the trauma mind, you got to kind of interpret what you're seeing, and then you have to throw out that camera with enough and have it set right to the manual focus to where we actually see that. So we're asking a lot of a person who's not expecting to see something like that to do a lot. In the pre-show, we talked a little bit about my sighting that I had, and when I put that flashlight, well, I had a camera. I actually had a video camera in my pocket. It didn't even cross my mind it was there because I was in so much shock of what I was seeing. And the big thing is I'm a researcher. I believe in these things, and I'm seeing it, and I'm still in so much shock that I forget I have a camera. Imagine if somebody had the belief system where it's not in their belief system, and then all of a sudden there they've come face to face. So they deal with a lot of almost PTSD-like trauma afterwards because they just replay it. But as far as for any breakthroughs, we've seen some stuff come down the pipe, but they have all kind of fell flat in their face. We saw a DNA study that was kind of, I don't want to say corrupted. It's not really the word I'm looking for, but it had some issues, and that didn't really put forward any information that we were hoping for. So I don't know if that...
No, it's interesting. Like I said, I'm kind of new to it all, so I'm just curious.
How about you, Dallas?
The question I was going to ask, I assume you guys travel to a lot of the Bigfoot conferences that happen all over the place. I know there's different ones in every state. Is there one in particular that you guys think is like the definitive conference to go to or people to visit for this type of stuff? Well,
there are several really good ones. The Ohio Bigfoot Conference is, and that runs usually in the spring. There's one in the fall called Creature Weekend. That's pretty good. We have, now there's one going on, the second one going on in Virginia. That's a pretty good one. Chautauqua Lake, New York has one every year. That's on the western side of New York, brings in, several hundred people, really hardcore Bigfoot people that want to learn and stuff like that. And that's a great one to go to, and I'm very much part of that one. Usually I'm front and center on the Chautauqua Lake one. There's little pop-up events here and there that go on. One of the shows that I do a lot, and I'm part of the family, I'm part of the Scarefest family, is I go to something in Lexington, Kentucky called Scarefest. And this year, I'll be out at Scarefest 11. And I do a lecture series, and we're doing something called the Paranormal Panel there this year. And, so that's a really fun one to go to. And it sees a lot of people. We probably see like 20,000 people in 3 days. And really a great venue. So if you're ever at all interested in any of these, just give me a shout, Dallas. I'll gladly forward you the information to the organizers.
Neat. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I knew there are lots of them just in me looking online. I didn't know if there's like the one or the few that are more respected, I guess, than others or something like that.
Well, Steve goes to a lot of these conferences and stuff because he ends up speaking at a lot of them, but I don't. I've been to one. I've been to the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, and I really liked that one. I mean, that was awesome. They seem like they always have really great speakers, yeah, Steve, man, he's all over the United States doing these things. But for me, I don't travel much now. I used to travel quite a bit a couple of years ago, but not now. And so I don't get a chance to get out to as many of them. But if I had one to pick, the only one I could say would be the Ohio Bigfoot Conference because I really enjoyed that. It was fun.
I would pick Chautauqua because I'm there every year.
No offense, Mark. I've never been to that one. But, I always remember the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. It's pretty cool. You meet all the top guys from the Bigfoot field. And, most people there don't have this problem with, status. You know what I mean? Like somebody gets a little bit famous and now, now they're going to speak like they're from London and stuff like that. But most of the guys there are just normal, everyday, down-to-earth guys. Like, you were talking earlier about the Sierra Sounds, Ron Moorhead. He rode in the car with us over to an event there, and he was just a down-to-earth, nice guy. I'll always remember that. That's one of my memories that'll stick with me.
Yeah, Ron actually sent me a free copy of his book. I reached out to him when we released the movie, and just to share it with him and see if he would be willing to check it out. And he sent me a free copy of his book because of that connection. So that he did seem like a really nice guy.
Yeah, very nice guy. And his recordings, the Sierra Sounds, like awesome. I mean, everybody needs to hear that. It's just really cool. I mean, they're going to be skeptics. Of course, I encourage people to be skeptical. There's nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, if anybody is considering the mystery, I would advise them, well, first thing, be skeptical. Don't believe everything you hear. And but, there's going to come that day where if you're out in an area where they tend to be at, you'll eventually possibly have a sighting. And that's when you go from being a skeptic to like, oh, wow, my world just changed.
Well, that's what happened to Tom Mayfield.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. I mean, we always appreciate skepticism because I always feel skepticism keeps us honest. It keeps us in check, and we should always have that skepticism in our heads to say, okay, somebody saw Bigfoot, let's take a look at it. Could it be a misidentification? If you believe that person, could it be a misidentification? When you get a piece of evidence, you got to go it up, down, left, right, behind it. And I always said this, and this is something that my audience knows: a picture, a video, an audio of evidence is only as good as the story behind it. If you have a garbage story, you have a garbage piece of evidence, no matter what it is. That's why the Patterson-Gimlin film has stood up. The Vermont trail cam photo, which I'm a very firm believer in, has stood up. And, of course, the New York baby video. All those three things I'm really down with. I love those pieces of evidence. But anyway, and gentlemen in Dallas, if you want to throw me some addresses, I'll make sure I get you a copy of my book out to you guys too.
Oh, that'd be great. I appreciate that.
You know, and we're down to about 5 minutes left of the show. I'll let you guys, any last. Where can we find the film, Dallas, and what sites? Where can we purchase it?
Yeah, so there's plenty of places online you can buy or rent the movie. You can get it on iTunes. You can get it on Vudu. You can get it on Amazon, the Google Play Store. And some cable-on-demand providers have it, like DirecTV is carrying it. Xfinity has it available on demand. You can rent or buy it. And then for your Amazon Prime users, you can actually stream it on Amazon Prime. So if you search Sightings on any of those platforms, it should pop right up. And, yeah, I'd love for people to check it out. And if you do, be sure to give it a review and a rating on those platforms so other people can discover it as well, because that really helps us get more people seeing it.
Awesome. And Boo, what are you up to? You got a project on the horizon, or you just kind of doing your thing right now?
I've been auditioning a lot, but I have not booked anything as of late. I've been auditioning a lot. I moved from L.A. back to Texas, so I've been working or auditioning for shows that are in this region, like Better Call Saul, which is shot in New Mexico. So, yeah, just auditioning. I haven't booked anything. I own another business and into some other things, and trying to raise 4 kids. So that's been my primary focus. But I'm always looking for an acting job just because I love it.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for coming on. We're just about out of time. We got a couple of minutes left. I want to thank you guys for coming on. It's been my honor to have you on. I really enjoyed the movie. I really enjoyed talking with you guys. It was a fun show. We had some good laughs, and Chris got my keyboard full of coffee.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate you guys letting us come and chat with you. It's been fun.
Yeah,
awesome.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, you guys. And hey,
thank you.
I know I know it's a bad thing in the movie industry to say this, so I'll just say break a leg, guys.
Terrific.
Thank you.
We'll keep trying to break legs. Thanks.
So anyway, folks, next week, Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have on Small Town Movies, Small Town Monsters creator, Seth Breedlove on, and we'll be talking about all kinds of things there, because he's been at the ground zero of a lot of different things: the Minerva Monster, the Beast of Whitehall, the Flatwoods Monster, the Mothman of Mount Pleasant, and many, many more. Oh, and let's not forget the Beast of Boggy Creek. So a lot of stuff to talk about next week. About Bigfoot, we'll be back on track next week with the beasts from the east, north, south, and west, and all those guys. But I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Again, we'll see you next Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, here on blogtalkradio.com/Squatchdetective, SquatchDetectiveRadio.com. Everybody have a healthy, happy, and safe week, and God bless. And, of course, keep on squatching. We'll catch you all next week, folks.
Thank you for listening to Squatch Detective Radio. Join us each week on Blog Talk Radio, Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern, as your hosts. veteran Bigfoot researchers, Steve Culls and Chris Bennett, bring you guests from around North America, exploring the mystery of the beast known as Bigfoot.